Okay, so Timothy writes in, and this is what he says. He says, I recently joined a theology discussion group on Facebook. I was sharing this with some people, and they thought that it was not right to have those types of conversations per Romans 14:1, 2 Timothy 2:23, and Titus 3:9. Let's stop right there. And we'll come back to Timothy's comment. I don't know exactly what he means by those kind of comments or those kind of conversations. And Timothy writes us on a semi-regular basis, and so I'm sure that he can clarify for us in another message. But ultimately, the question that I'd have is, what kind of conversations are you having? I don't think it's wrong to ever talk to anybody about theology. I mean, I think that theology if we're believers, theology does consume our life. Talking about the Bible, the text of the Bible, the laws in the Bible, the theology in the Bible, the things about God, and hashing out what we believe about God from a biblical text is something that we should do on a regular basis. And it's something that we will do on a regular basis because it's stuff that we love to talk about. It consumes our life. And so there's nothing wrong with that at all. With that said, if you're trying
it's about growing in confidence.
Absolutely.
In like confidence in your walk with the Lord, not in self-boasting, but in confidence in like, I understand what it means to be redeemed. I understand what it cost. I understand my obligations and, all these things.
Now, with that said, I wonder, though, if the kind of conversation that this gentleman Timothy is having in these chat rooms is more like attempting to solidify or understand a theological topic. When I was pastoring a small little church, one of the things that was overly frustrating was the fact that I would spend a significant amount of time with believers in the church talking about theology and talking about why the Bible, why I believed certain things and why we believe certain things, the foundational issues of the church, and what we as the elders why we had settled on certain foundational truths and why the church actually followed those foundational truths. And literally the next week they would come back and say, yeah, I heard what you said, but then I went online and I contacted Monty Judah, or I contacted 119 Ministries, and it's like, and then we'd have to go down the same thing. And it was like in one ear, out the other. And so from that perspective, let's actually go back to Timothy's comment, because he's going to hash this out a little bit. He says, and if I had questions about theology, I shouldn't go to the internet, but to the congregation we attend. Also, that we should bend to their authority on Scripture. Can I get your opinion on this? It feels technically right, but something about it is just sitting sideways in my head. Thank you. Yeah, so I think that the Scriptures say that the elders of a community they're responsible for the welfare of your soul. And I think that what this means is that they are put in a seat to help the congregants interpret Scripture and then live that Scripture out. This does not mean that leaders are not going to be wrong from time to time, and I think that the congregation has to hold their leadership accountable to the Scriptures as well. It is a two-way street. However, when it comes to questions of theology, what we believe, I think that the very first place we should go is to our leadership and to our elders. Now, with that said, the congregation that right now my family is currently in an interesting place where the Lord is leading us in a new direction in terms of a community, and we are all ears and willing to be led in that direction. However, so we're kind of in a interesting place. However, the community that we were at for just over a year, the leadership there, they love the Lord deeply, and their theology they had some very, very good biblical theology, especially in the foundational issues. And so in that, I had no problem bending bending to their authority in those matters. However, we went into that community knowing that there were certain things that we just did not agree with them on. And the very first week we were there, I stated that to the pastors. Not to be haughty or arrogant or to try to start anything. I just, I said, there's a couple of things that we would probably disagree with you on. And one of the pastors said, okay, like what? And I mentioned a couple of things. He said, we totally understand that. Not a problem. There's people in this congregation who would agree with you and not us. And so certainly in those matters, and I can name a couple. We're not Paedo-Baptists, but we were going to a Presbyterian church. And so the Presbyterian church believed in paedo-baptism, and that's not something that I agree with. And so, but we didn't, that's not a salvation issue. We didn't have a problem with that. And I actually found it to be a fantastic teaching time for my children. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.